Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Marine Diversity Education series on mollusks and arthropods. So we'll be covering these two topics today as much as we can. So first, let's go with mollusks. So mollusks are generally they are soft body organisms, and their body can be divided into two major parts. One is head foot, the lower body part, and the visceral mass on top. So the soft parts of mollusks are covered by a protective tissue that's called mantle. So this gives a space to keep the internal body organs safely, and also it creates a space between the mantle and the body, known as mantle cavity. Okay, so the next slide shows the molluscan general body plan. So here you can see how it's divided into two: the visceral mass and the head foot. So head foot is shown in red color or the light purple color. So the above one is showed in yellow color. So here you can see from mouth there's a special device called radula. So it's significant for these mollusks. And here you can see the foot, and from this nerve ring, the nerve cords or nerves are extended up to this end part of the foot. And from mouth, we can see stomach and the intestine, and that goes up to anus. So they have a complete digestive tract. They have a heart which opens into the body cavity, and then the gills here. So the soft tissue is called mantle, and the very outer surface is with shell. So the structure unique to mollusks is called the radula. So the radula is a ribbon of tissue that contains teeth, so they can scrape the food. So except in bivalves, almost all the other mollusks, they have this radula. So first we are going to learn about chitin. So chitins, they belongs to class Polyplacophora. So they have flattened bodies, and which is covered by 8 shell plates. So that's the significant with this chitin. So chitin use their large flat foot to get attached tightly to the surfaces. So, and also they have these radula in their mouths, so they can scrape the algae attached on the rocks or any other organisms. So when chitins are removed from a rock, they roll up into a ball for protection. So that's their mechanism. So, and most chitins feed on algae and other organisms that they scrape off the surface of the rock. So this is a picture of chitin. So you can see they have a flattened body. The plates are arranged, mostly 8 plates. Here you can see this is the dorsal part, that means the upper part of the chitin, and the ventral part, the down below, you can see the feet, the other side. So here in this picture it's clear, the ventral foot and the mouth with radula. So the next is Cephalophodes. So commonly these are known as tusk shells, because the name they got because of their appearance, which resembles an elephant's tusk. So the tube-like shell has two openings. The two ends are open, so it's kind of a hello body. So hello, and also they have these large end, which uh, through their large end of the shell. So this shell, so I can show a picture here. This is the small end and this is the large end. So here, so from this large end, the animal's foot protrudes, which is used to burrow the sediments, and water enters from the small end and it goes out. So through that they can exchange oxygen and as well as the waste from their body. So down you can see they have these foot, and also they have a special tentacles, so they can capture their food. So these tusks shells, they usually feed on foraminiferans, so minute organisms. So here you can see through these water enters, circulates and goes away. So that, so in this picture it's clear how the internal organs are organized inside the shell. So the next example or the class we're going to study is Gastropoda. So Gastropoda means gastro means stomach and poda means food. So this class, it's very diverse. So some most have shells, but some lack these shells, and also they can range from very minute organisms to very large ones, so gastropods. So like here it's said the syrinx aruans, so they can grow up to 1 meter. So in the next picture you can see how large they are. So that's the diversity that class contains. So gastropods live in a wide variety of habitats, from littoral zones, which means the shore area, to the bottom, because bottom dwellers are there, and also very open ocean gastropods. So when they process a shell, it's always one piece. So that's important to note here. So mollusks, so when it comes to mollusks and then gastropods, they are univalve, so one valve, and it could be coiled like these uncoiled ones. So this develops the structures develop from a central axis, and here you can see this bigger part is called body wall, and then spirals we can see here. So, and this part is called operculum, so which can be covered. I mean, when the snail or these gastropods, they withdraw their body parts, the internal organ that they put out during any danger. So for the safety, they withdraw the body part inside the shell, and this operculum can be like it can act as a window to close the internal body part without being damaged. So here you can see the outer lip. This is called the inner lip. So this is so spiral ribs. So you can see. So yes. So next, some gastropods such as lymphates and abalones, slipper snails, they are adapted to attached to solid surface like rocks and shells. So here you can see in the first picture, it's an abalone and this is a lymphat. So all have a low broad shells that can be pulled down tightly and offer less resistance to wave and currents. So they get attached. So they have kind of broad shells, big broad ones. So the once they get attached, it's kind of they have the resistance to face the currents and waves. So usually these kind of gastropods, they live in intertidal zones, where the fluctuations of waves are the tides are experienced. So where in the exposed rock surfaces, they get attached and they live there. So it's very important for them to have such resistance to to live in such kind of environment. So the most marine gastropods feed on fine algae that can be scraped from rock surfaces or other surfaces. Gastropods prey on wide variety of animals, and they have evolved many interesting behavior to trap and subdue their prey. The flamingo tongue and its relatives feed on colonial cnidarians, and large snails such as Triton's trumpet feed on echinoderms. So next you can see here Triton trumpet. Usually they feed on urchins, so echinoderms, and this flamingo tongue, they feed on colonial cnidarians. So you can see these two gastropods. So they have a very prominent shell here, Triton trumpet. So next, like helmet snails feed on sea urchins. They also feed on sea urchins. But nudibranchs are marine gastropods that lack shells. So that's important. So they don't have shells. Um, so they they are exposed. Their body is exposed, not covered with shells. So they have their gills and appendages, and their name nudibranch means naked gills. So that's exposed. The gills are exposed. So, and also they have projections from the animal's body called serrata that increase the surface area available for gas exchange. So that's important note. Here you can see these are nudibranchs. So where you can see the projections here. So some nudibranchs feed on cnidarians, and they have very bright, they are very colorful. So it's kind of warning signal for their predators. So the color is a kind of warning sign. So the next is about bivalves. So the mollusks that have two shells, joint two shells, are called bivalves. So these groups include clams, oysters, mussels, scallops, and shipworms, and they range from tiny 1 millimeter clams to giant clam, Tridacna gigas, uh, so which can grow as large as 1 meter. So bivalves have no head and no radula. So these bivalves, they don't have radula. So their bodies are laterally compressed. Okay, they have two valves of shells that cover it, usually attached to dorsal and hinge by ligaments. So here you can see these two, the the two shells, they are attached to the ligaments found in this place, so um, they can they can open, but this at one place it's attached. So the older part of the shell is called umbo, and then they have these adductor muscles. So when these muscles relax, these shells, the valves, they can open it. So the animal's food is located ventrally in clams, so function in burrowing and locomotion. So here they have one very significant thing, like they have developed excurrent siphon and incurrent siphon, where water goes in and comes out. So water entering the inhalant opening carries food. So through these, foods are carried, so food particles, mainly planktons, are filtered from the water by the gills. Okay, so here the gills, they filter and they form a mass by a pair of structures called palps. So here you can see labial palp. So they create a mass of these filtered planktons, and they palp move this labial palp, they move the food particles into the mouth, so that way the food particles get into the digestive tract of these bivalves. So this is a kind of device they have for filtering. So when we take the whole bivalves, they also show kind of diversity, where they live and how they live. So actually we can find soft bottom burrowers. So they burrow into soft bottoms, and they live inside the sediment. So they are infauna, and also some they are epifaunous, so they can be attached. So the next one, the second, so they are attached to surfaces, so where such as rocks, corals, wood, shells, and sea walls. So unattached ones, like they can move, so scallops, so they are not attached. So the boring bivalves, they bore into woods, sometimes stones, so they can cause commercial damages. So the soft bottoms one, they have siphons, so where they can, being inside the sediment, they can extend that siphon outwards towards the water column. So through that they can filter their food, water, and they can do the gas exchange from their body. So when it comes to the attached ones, they have they sometimes secrete semen
I can't video.
Could through these foods carry things like they can move, so scallops, so they are not attached. So the boring bivalves, they both are like attached, or else some bivalves they have these bicers, so they are like threads, so they get attached to these bicers to hard surfaces. So they can, yes, scallops and their relatives are able to move through the jet propulsion, so they can move from one place to another. So these pterodo, these shipworms, they cause commercial damages to wooden ships. So they bore holes in woods. So I can show you pictures. So geoduck, it's the first one, soft bottom burrower. So they live inside the sediments. So only you can see this part up, so above the sediment, the whole body is burrowed down. So the next is a winged oyster and also mitulers. So here you can see bicers where they are attached to these threads. So the next is scallops or file clams. So they are the ones who can move. So the next is shipworm. So here you can see how they can burrow into woods, and they can eat, like they can scrape out all the wood. So this causes actually a damage. So the next one is cephalopods. So mollusks such as octopus, squids, and cuttlefish are cephalopods. The term cephalopod means head-footed, and also a ring of tentacles projects from the interior edge of the head, and they are used to capture food, like capture prey for defense and reproduction, and some species as aid in locomotion. So they have these tentacles. So that's something prominent with these cephalopods. So here you can see nautilus. So with the exception of these nautiloids, modern cephalopods either have small internal shells. So when it comes to shells, when you compare these nautilus to octopus, they don't have these shell, but sometimes they have these other cephalopods, they have small internal shells, or sometimes they lack it entirely, like such as octopus. So they lack some, they have very like small internal shells. So nautiloids produce large coil shells. So here you can see it has a very big coil shell. So this is the earliest shell part. So here this is how they develop. So when the shell grow, the body part is kind of um, they are pushed towards the last chamber. So here the animal inhabits only the last chamber. So here you can see how this is coiled and how many chambers are there. These are chambers, but only the animal nautilus, they occupy this last chamber, and these chambers are interconnected using the cord of tissue called siphuncle. So they are attached. Okay, so here the next cephalopod is cuttlefish. So here I think it's a bit familiar for y'all. So most of the people, they eat in Sri Lanka. It's a kind of common food sometimes for some people. So cuttlefish have bulky body. So here you can see the fins, and they have 10 appendages. So 8 arms. Here you can see 8 arms surrounding the mouth part, and 2 large ones called tentacles, larger ones. So they have small internal shells. So their shells, the shells are reduced. So they have very small internal one. Some which have chambers similar to those of nautilus shells. Some have chambers. The shell of the cuttlefish, however, is embedded in its mantle. So here you can see the body parts of the cuttlefish. So they can move actually. So the next is squids. So they have a large cylindrical body when compared to this cuttlefish. And also they possess 10 appendages, 5 pairs around the head. 1 pair of arm is larger than the rest, and these are called tentacles, similar to the cuttlefish. So here you can see the large tentacles where it extends. So the inner surface of each arm is flattened, and they are covered with cup-shaped suckers. So here you can see small cup-like extensions. They are called suckers. So in the suckers they have two structures, so in rings. Small cup-like. So the suckers are present only on the flattened ends of the highly mobile tentacles, and which can be projected out with great speed to seize prey. The arms aid in holding the prey after capture. Okay, and the internal strip of hard protein called the pen, which represent a degenerate shell, lends support to the mantle. So they are reduced shell kind of thing is called pen, which support the mantle. So the next is octopus. So octopods means eight octo. So they have 8 arms. They don't have their tentacles, so which are similar to the arms of squids, like except that the suckers lacks stalks and teeth. So it's very important to note. Like here, the suckers are toothed in squids, but when it comes to octopus, they don't have teeth. They don't have the in their suckers. Here you can see in octopus they have the suckers, so 2 rows of suckers in each arm, but they are not toothed ones. So their bodies are sac-like and lack fin. They don't have fin, and it's very like they can occupy any kind of space, like it's sac-like, and they lack shell. So all of these animals are extremely adept predators, feeding on a variety of fish and invertebrates. So that's all about the mollusks. So here today, like we are going to study about the ecological role of mollusks. So mollusks are important to human as well as to other animals as food. So we saw like these cuttlefish and other mollusks are consumed by human as well as other animals. So snail shells are major source of calcium for some marine birds. So according to one study, sperm whales alone consume as large as mass of squids as humans do of all species of fish combined. So you can imagine the amount the sperm whales consume of these squids. So it's important food for these sperms. And other molluscan foods include clams, oysters, mussels, abalone, conch, and scallops. The shells of many mollusks provide habitat for other species. So some small organisms, they can be attached to their shells as well. Some snails are intermediate host to parasites. So some shell, like these snails, they act as host for other parasites. So shipworm, they cause extensive damage to wooden boats, boat hulls. So it's a commercial problem, and also the other hand, it's kind of helpful as they prevent the accumulation of driftwood in the marine environment. So there are pros and cons. So a small number of bivalves have evolved commensal relationships. Most commensals are attached to byssus threads, but some crawl on their foot like snail. So the hosts are usually burrowing echinoderms, such as heart urchins, brittle stars, sea cucumber, and shrimp-like crustaceans. So they are the hosts. The only known parasitic bivalve is species Entovolva that lives in gut of sea cucumber. So one parasitic bivalve that we can see is Entovolva that lives in the gut of sea cucumbers. So we have come to the end of today's session. I hope that we can continue the arthropod lesson in the coming session. So thank you for joining.